Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Painting with Color. Today we're going to paint this adorable little chicken, and I'm just going to start out by putting some black color in there. In the original photo, I just wanted to make the wood look like more of a bluish kind of, that light blue wood. So I'm using a base of blue on it. I add a little bit of purple and yellow here and there just to give it some interest, and then I'm going to put the purple through the lines that separate the board. Here I'm just covering the back with white. I just want to make sure I get color everywhere. And I'm using yellow and greens and blues, I think, just for the starter background, which I end up going over with a way darker color like I usually do. And then I go over it again, but you'll see that. Right now, I just want to make sure that there's paint all over the canvas. It makes it easier to paint, and you know where your colors are. Plus, I use charcoal pencil to get my um, drawing on the canvas. So if you put a layer of paint over it lightly, then once that paint dries, the charcoal won't smear anymore. So that's the other reason why I just get a layer of paint down really quickly. You can see how it smears a lot in the face. Right here, I did the little, I don't know what they're called, the little red flaps, and I totally put them in the wrong spot, but I fixed it the next time I went over it. For the background, I wanted to do something that was just kind of like abstract, kind of giving the impression that there was stuff there. And I started out with colors. I was thinking about colors that are similar to what's in the photo, but it looks so dark that I end up going back over it. But it's okay because a lot of those colors come through just a little bit. I wanted to make sure that the chicken was the focal point of the painting, so I didn't want it. It was really, really dark, and you'll see that. Oh, and I forgot to film. I forgot to press the film, but this is what I ended up with. So I recorded like, I don't know, 15 minutes or something, and I didn't actually record it because I didn't press the button. So so anyway, so here's the darker colors, and now I'm going to go back over it with light colors just to lighten it up and soften everything. And you could pretty much just choose whatever color you want. I like lime green, so I chose that. And there's some white in there with it, and yellows, and then I put a little bit of blue here and there. I did pick up a little red. You can kind of see it there, and I had to wait for it to dry before I painted over it again. I didn't mean to pick up the red, but it was on the palette. See, I'm trying to paint over it, but it's not dry yet. And the boards, I'm just using a light blue and a light yellow, light green with some white. And I just make streaks of colors every once in a while. I tried to use the same colors in the board as the background, just so it's like kind of the same, but just different textures, and I thought that would make it look interesting. Then I realized I had like a swoop going, and I decided to try to make it angle it a little bit, because that way everything is pointing towards the chicken, so the background kind of slants towards the chicken and the wood slants towards the chicken, and it kind of makes your eyes go to the chicken. Now in the photo, there's not much shadow in the photo, but it kind of looks like the light source is coming from the front of the chicken towards the back. And when I first started putting down the blue, which is like a shadow color, I was going to do that, but then I decided to go to the bottom. So like the light would be coming from the back, or the kind of the top, I guess you could say, the top right instead. And so that's where I decided to have the light. So I didn't really put that much shadow in this painting. It didn't really seem like it needed that much. And then here I'm gonna put shadows over where I put those things, and I'll end up moving them pretty soon. So I'm just using the blue, uh, ultramarine blue, just to put in where I think a shadow would be. Actually, in the photo, it does look like it's coming from the upper right, because you could see on the little flap things that I don't know what they're called that come out from the beak. Now, if on the photo, there's those cute little feathers, and they just kind of swirl up. And I thought about making those exactly how they are in the photo, but it's a tiny painting. It's only 8 by 10. So I didn't really want to get that detailed with it. But if you do with this painting, you could totally do that and it'd be adorable. If you're on my Patreon or locals, I'll post the picture of the original photo too, so you can have that for reference. I also have a line drawing too. I'll post that up there. So I'm using this color, and it's kind of like a kind of a highlight, I guess, but it's also a shadow, just because the sunlight's kind of weird on it. There's not really any shadows. Most of it, you'll see most of it will go over anyway. It's mostly a highlight color, I guess. Yeah. Well, she mixes it in with a darker color and then it turns into a shadow. Okay, so now I'm moving those little red things up where they're kind of supposed to be. I'm actually using magenta right here. I'm going over the red with magenta. She's got those cute little red bags under her eyes. I wanted to make sure I didn't forget those. Now I'm using a medium purplish color. And so that's like a kind of a shadow, but not really. She's got some purple in her face if you look real close at the photo. It looks like her little feathers have purple in them. So I'm just adding those around the face where I see those. It's kind of a grayish purple. So I'm just kind of exaggerating those. This is still on the chicken. This is still the underpainting. So I'm going to be putting down color and then we're going to go over it again. And those colors will just peek through. So like here I'm using the purple and I'm trying to go where I see the feathers are kind of going, which in what direction. And I'm just going to sporadically put some colors around and the whole thing will be painted over. But those little colors will show up here and there and it'll give the impression of feathers underneath the white color that we put over it. So now I'm adding in blue to the body. So that'll show up too once we paint over it with the white color. Now I'm starting to do the white and oh, it looks like I missed a video where I was adding purple in, but you can see where I added the purple just for some shading where the shadows are. When I started doing the white, I was doing it in just pressing to make it look like little feathers, and I ended up doing that on the whole thing. And you could see some of the color will stay through as you go. So I tried to do it in the same direction that the feathers are laying on the chicken. And I'm using titanium white with a little bit of like a super light yellow, and I just put my paintbrush in both of them. I don't mix it or anything. I just dab it in both and then make the little feathers. That way it's not all white. It's got some, because you could see in the chicken's feathers, she's got different shades. And so I thought it would give that impression. And for doing this, I'm just using like a medium round brush and trying to keep it going as how the feathers are laying on the chicken. And see, you can see how the colors are coming through. It looks kind of neat. Here I'm switching to a smaller brush just because the feathers around the face are smaller. And I'm still trying to dab in the direction that the feathers are going in. If you end up going over the red and stuff, don't worry about it. We'll go over that again. I know my light was doing weird stuff, but I moved it after a while. And that's pretty much just titanium white I'm using at this point. I'm adding in the little, just a little floofs that are around I don't know what those things are called, those little red things that hang. She's got floofs that are on the sides, little tiny little feathers. It almost looks like fur. But I did it too thick, but we'll go back over it in red and thin it out. And here I'm not really dabbing anymore. I'm just kind of doing tiny little strokes. So I'm adding in more shadow detail. And looking back at how it turned out, I kind of wish I would have put blue underneath the beak. A little blue in there probably would have been pretty cool. I made the head a little bit too high, so I'm just touching up around it to lower it down a bit. So with the eyes, I did them purple at first, and then I took a little black and mixed that in there and made them black because the eyes are really black. I think at some point I tried to put, there's the black, I'm gonna mix that in to make them darker. I tried to put like a little light reflection in it and it didn't look good, so I just painted over it. They're a little bit wonky, but we'll go back over it with some white and reshape the eyes. So here I'm filling in the beak color. I used two different yellows. I think one is deep yellow and the other one's brilliant yellow, or maybe it's lemon yellow. They're pretty opaque though, so I had to go back over them a couple times. Or translucent, I mean. There's one thing right here I wish I would have done is you see the to the left of the right of the beak, there's the little red lines that go straight out. And if you look at the picture, they kind of go down. And I meant to fix that, and I just totally forgot and never fixed it. But it probably would have looked better if I would have done that. It's still cute though. Now I'm just going to touch up the red parts a bit, and then I'll try to make little tiny strokes inside of the hairs and re-outline the little dangly things. Here I'm adding in just a little bit of purple, really watered down purple for some shadows. I still think it would have looked better with some blue under the beak, and it would have picked up the blue that's underneath the chicken. So that's ultramarine blue that's really watered down just to give it a little bit of shadow effect, and we'll go over it again in a lighter color. Oh, look at that. I did put blue there. I don't even see it. Still would have been better if it was closer to the beak. So now I'm going back in with some light blue that I mixed in with some white. Just putting back in some highlights and shadows. Just a little bit here and there. And now brushing little tiny strokes over the blue just so some of it shows through using titanium white. Reshaping the eyes. And the brush strokes, I'm trying to go in the same direction that the feathers go. So you can see how if you just randomly put those little dots everywhere, little strokes, you see the color coming through them, and it really gives the impression of feathers without actually painting each individual feather. This brush is it's an eyeliner brush. I got a set on Amazon, and it works really well for getting really fine details, like those little. It looks almost like fur right there in the chicken's face above the red thing. So I'm just putting in some little tiny lines, white lines. I don't remember filming the little lines in the wood. I don't think I've seen that. Well, if I didn't show that, I'm pretty sure those are just purple. I did it with a tiny brush and some watered down dark purple like a violet and just ran it right over there to create those lines. I didn't really put much detail in there. The different strokes of color, really, you don't need that much. Oh, there I'm darking up underneath the beak, and that's where I should put blue. I'm convinced. But it still looks cute. That's just watered down violet. That's the eyeliner brush again, adding some more little tiny hair feathers. This is why I speed up my videos. They're so slow. I paint slow. I didn't slow up this part though because it was like right around the face. I wanted to make sure you saw what I was doing. Now at this point I'm mostly just nitpicking though. But I am reshaping the eye. I'm probably covering up a dot I put in there. Because there's no reflections on the chicken's eyes, so kind of looks silly. But reshaping the eyes too, putting last minute touches on them. So here I'm putting a little highlight in. If you look at the picture on the bottom left, you can see that the little flappy things have a highlight. And I'm just adding those in. I think it's just with a little bit of yellow. Oh, here's where I added the dots. And then I went back over them. All right, and that's done. Thank you for watching another episode of Painting with Color. I hope you liked it. Please hit subscribe. And if you're on my Patreon or locals, I'll post a picture, the original photograph with this, and the drawing in case you do the carbon pencil to get your picture on the canvas. Thank you. Have a good day.